Happy Sabbath. Good afternoon, church. It is my first time to stand here, but it is a pleasure to be here. Let me start by thanking Kigali English Church for organizing an event to celebrate Pastor Mpyisi's 100th birthday. Special thanks go to Elder Niels, who invited me on behalf of the family to come and say something here in the Kigali English Church. In the morning, Niels and Theo said they have never seen an active pastor at 100 years old. Niels, that applies to me. I've never seen an active pastor who is 100 years old. But today, or rather this year, I have seen one. It's not easy to know where to begin to talk about Pastor Mpyisi. And if you ask any Rwandese, they will all have something to say about Pastor Mpyisi. And because everybody has something to say about Pastor Mpyisi, I also have something to say about Pastor Mpyisi. I think I'm going to do proper introduction. David did not do justice. My name is Gerald Mpyisi. I'm the second born of Pastor Mpyisi and our mother, Esther Nyirabachiga. I'm the second child out of 8 children, 7 boys and 1 girl. And I think this is just the right time for me to introduce those who are here, because when David was introducing them, some of them had not arrived. In fact, I think, let me call of you to come here so that people can see you properly. All the pieces, please. I'm quite old myself, so if you see me forgetting some names of the people who are here behind me, don't be surprised. But that shouldn't surprise you. If Pastor Mpyisi is 100 years and I'm his second son, so you can tell how old I am. Let me start with, where is Pastor Mugeni and Eunice? They are not here. Oh, this is very unfortunate. Our only daughter in the family who follows me, she's called Eunice, Dr. Eunice. That's very important. Very often, Pastor Mpyisi used to say, I should have had just girls, because you boys, you are so many, but none of you has a PhD. Eunice is married to Pastor Mugeni. Pastor Mugeni hails from Tanzania, and they are here. I think they went for, because they're traveling after tomorrow, I think they went for the COVID test. That's why they are not here. But they came all the way from Tanzania specifically to celebrate the 100 years of Pastor Mpyisi with the Kigali English Church. Let me start from that side. This gentleman here in a gray suit, can you please put your phone off?
Did you call him?
You see, he's asking me whether I called him. No, I didn't. But I'm going to introduce you. This is what telephones do. So if you're in the church, put your phone off. Rutaisire, Ezra Rutaisire. For some reason, he's, I think, the only one whom people don't refer to as Mpyisi. But he's Mpyisi. But he prefers to have his names Rutaisire Ezra. The rest of us are called Mpyisi, but it was not by choice. If we had a choice, we would never have called ourselves Mpyisi. Rutaisire is, you're the fourth, right? Yes. The first son of Pastor Mpyisi, Ezra Mpyisi, passed on about 10 years ago while in Canada. Rutaisire comes after Eunice. And this very beautiful lady, the very light-skinned one, Immaculée, that is Rutaisire's wife. Christine, whom most of you know, is Rutaisire's daughter. Next is Janet, and the little young man in front of her is her last born, Alvin. Well, I'm saying last born, you never know. And Janet is the wife of Moses. Moses is not able to be here. Moses sometimes is Mpyisi, sometimes is not. Ezzy, come here. This one is a special boy. He's called Ezra Mpyisi. Ezra,
Yes.
when you grew up, what did you want to be?
A missionary.
A missionary. Thank you. He is my son. He's the last born. So you can go stand there. It is very true. Whenever we ask him, what are you going to be? He says, I want to be a missionary. So Pastor Mpyisi, he's Ezra Mpyisi. I guess he's going to take in your footsteps. What we have failed to do, he is going to do it. Tanya. Tanya is Janet's daughter. And some of you, remove your mask. Some of you might know her, Diana Mpyisi. She's very popular on Rwanda TV. She has her own TV program, and sometimes people refer to me, Uriani Sewa Diana. I no longer have my own identity. And this is Teta. Teta also Janet's daughter. Remove your mask. This is Kamikaze Mpyisi. She is my daughter. Pastor Mpyisi had very many boys. It seems I have very many girls to balance it. Teta, remove your mask. Teta Mpyisi, another daughter of mine. Marvin here, Marvin is the son of Rutaisire and Immaculée. Edson, Buchura wa Mzee Mpyisi. Uramubona nagasaza ariko niwe Buchura. Esther is the daughter of Rutaisire. And Rubyoko, how do you? Salim. Salim is also the son of Rutaisire and Janet, and Immaculate. Now, there are many other Mpyisis who were not able to be here. Some are in Canada, others are in the States, but I'm happy that this is being screened live. So wherever they are following the proceedings here. So I think I'll end the introduction there. You may go and sit down. Now, if you hear me referring to Mzee, Mzee for me is Pastor Mpyisi. Sometimes it looks very awkward for me kubwira buzukuru banje ngo ngiye gusura papa. At my age, I find that a bit odd. So I prefer to just call him Mzee. So I might forget, instead of saying Pastor Mpyisi, I say Mzee. Please, you will understand. If you meet 99% of the people here in Rwanda, if you tell them that your name is Mpyisi, most of them will always refer to Pastor Mpyisi. Many times, I've had to introduce myself, that if it becomes necessary for me to introduce myself, and I enjoy seeing the reaction of people whenever I say, my name is Mpyisi. The reaction of all of them is, might you be related to Pastor Mpyisi? All of them. And when I say yes, of course, I very proudly say yes. Most of them will say, biranejeje kukumenya. Uri umwana w'umusaza wacu. Turamukunda cyane, umudutahirize. And these are people from all walks of life across the country. You are Pastor Mpyisi's son. And when I say yes, the first statement is, we are very happy to meet Pastor Mpyisi's son. Please, when you meet him, say hello to him and tell him that we love him. So that is one of the benefits of having this name, Mpyisi. In Burundi, I once lived in Burundi for 1 year, and because it's not that common to meet somebody called Mpyisi. Whenever I meet someone called Mpyisi, I also want to know, why were you called Mpyisi? Me, I know why. I had no choice. But why were you called Mpyisi? And later on, they told me, no, that's not his real name. That is nickname because he is a horrible character. So you see, Mpyisi is associated with fairly bad things. Pastor Mpyisi mentioned it in the morning. Ngo bamwise Mpyisi kugira ngo urupfu rumutinye ngo nagasimba ntabwo ari umuntu. So it was not common to call your child Mpyisi. So when I went in Burundi, I was told this guy is called Mpyisi because he is a horrible character. I went to Makerere University several years ago, and when I first went there, it was my first time to come in contact with a group of Rwandese. Before that, I had met, 3, 4, when we were at Bugema with the Ezra Mpyisi, we were probably 20 or 30, but at Makerere, I met quite a big number. And none of them knew me. But they heard that there was someone called Mpyisi on the campus. And of course, they assumed, agomba kuba ari umunyarwanda. Naundi muntu wakwitwa Mpyisi. But they assumed this Mpyisi, they didn't know, must be a huge, ugly fellow. So when we met in this group, I had to introduce myself. I said, Mpyisi, so, ni wowe. They were amazed, of course, not to see what they had expected. All I'm trying to say is that Mpyisi is associated, it used to be associated with negative things. Today, however, all of you have been saying it. Those who made the remarks here, when Niels was introducing Pastor Mpyisi in the morning, when you were giving me a gift. Today, the name Mpyisi represents values that everyone would be proud to be associated with. Every time at another function, I think some of you were there, it's about 7 years ago. We also had a very big celebration. At that time, we were celebrating Pastor Mpyisi's 65 years as a pastor. And one of the people who made remarks at that time was Honorable Tito Rutaremara. If you remember what he said in Rwandese culture, in our tradition, it was unheard of to hear someone called Mpyisi, or for someone to name his child Mpyisi. But Pastor Mpyisi has changed the culture. Today, it is an honor to be called Mpyisi. And Tito said, I would love to be called Mpyisi. Pastor Mpyisi, you have changed culture. From now, don't be surprised if you see many people calling their children Mpyisi, something that was never heard of. I have survived 2 potential bad incidents. And the reason I survived was because I carried the name Mpyisi. The first time was in Kenya. I went to Kenya, and while I was at the airport, I had not carried my vaccination card. You know, the yellow fever, the yellow card? I hadn't carried it. And right inside the airport, some 2 guys asked me for the yellow card. I told them I didn't have it. I didn't think it was necessary because I lived in Kenya for many years, so I assumed this was my second home. But they insisted on asking me for the card. In my mind, I thought these guys want a bribe. And I wasn't ready to give them the bribe. So I also refused. So we got stuck. They insisted, I also insisted. As we were arguing, there was a lady standing about 20 meters away. But she followed what was going on. Later on, I came to find that she was the supervisor there. So she walked to where we were and she asked us, what is the problem here? So I told her, these 2 askaris, these 2 security guys are trying to force me to present my yellow card, but I don't have it. I always pass through this airport and no one has ever asked me for it. So she says, okay, give me your passport. I gave her the passport. And when she looked at it, she saw the name Mpyisi. The first thing she asked me was, might you be related to someone called Pastor Mpyisi? I said, yes, that's my father. You should have seen what she did to those 2 guys. And immediately we started chatting, said, he is my pastor. How is he? He was already in Rwanda. So I told her, he's very fine. So please, when you get there, greet him for me. He was my pastor for a very long time. I survived. Another incident, this was very nasty. I was on my way to Gisenyi, and I think I was over the speed limit. So there were 2 cops on the road. They, of course, saw my speed and they stopped me. And the guy who approached me, he approached me with a very angry face. So I thought, I'm finished now. I have no choice, I'm going to pay. But I kept my cool, and then he says, give me your driving license, with a very harsh voice. So I politely pulled out my driving license and I gave it to him. He looked at it, with Mpyisi. I said, yeah, that's my driving license. Are you Mpyisi? I said, check. Are you related to Pastor Mpyisi? I said, yes, he's my father. Are you sure? I said, yes. Uziko Musa. Uziko ndo kuvuga ngawe. Sasa, yekatukumvikana. From now, drive slowly. Because we still love that man. And when you get to him, please greet him for me. I didn't even know what his name was, but he said, pass my regards to him. We love him, and I'm happy to know you. Here is your driving license. Go safely. I was saved by the name Mpyisi. My wife, who unfortunately is not here, she lives in Ivory Coast. Although she's here in Kigali for a few weeks, she's not very well. She very often tells me, you, Pastor Mpyisi's children, you have a huge responsibility to maintain the good name that your father has given you. So to all the Mpyisis who are here, take that message. In the morning, Pastor Set challenged us as Pastor Mpyisi's children. Pastor Mpyisi also, when he was ending his sermon, he also mentioned it. Those who were here did follow Pastor Mpyisi's request to his children, and Pastor said this also a request to his children. I'm not going to say anything about that for now. Pastor Mpyisi has been honored by several institutions and individuals. Today is Saturday. On Thursday, Pastor Mpyisi belongs to a group of elders, wise men and women, elderly people. I think to qualify to be in that group, you have to be above 80. Now, on Thursday, they came to visit him. And there was a huge celebration. I think he referred to it in the morning in his sermon. It was a big celebration. And these were people who came specifically to celebrate with him his 100th birthday. Pastor Mpyisi actually forgot something today. He said his celebration has been going on for a month. That's not true. Pastor Mpyisi, if you remember, in January we were in Gisenyi with one of his many Bible study groups. One of these groups, there were about 50 people. They decided, Pastor Mpyisi had now become, has attained 100 years, we must do something for him. So they organized a retreat, a full weekend in Gisenyi on the shores of Lake Victoria, where we spent a weekend studying the Bible and, of course, celebrating Pastor Mpyisi's 100 years. So the celebrations of his 100th birthday actually started in January, and they are very likely to go on until the end of the year. In May, we are planning to host a huge event where the public will be invited. We are still debating where are we going to hold that event. So as you can see, in May, that's when the family is going to organize the big celebration. Most of you would know of the role Pastor Mpyisi played in returning the body of the late king of Rwanda, King Kigali. Pastor Mpyisi was quite close to the two last kings. King Rudahigwa, who has been designated a hero in Rwanda, and his brother, King Kigali. Pastor Mpyisi played a very vital role in ensuring that the body of the late king comes to Rwanda. This was a national event. This is something that will go down in the history of this country. In honor of the role Pastor Mpyisi played, the king's family, the king comes from a clan called Abahindiro. In honor, in recognition of the role Pastor Mpyisi played, the family designed a huge portrait, and the portrait featured three characters: the two kings and Pastor Mpyisi. In addition to that, they made him an honorary member of their clan. So Pastor Mpyisi now belongs to two clans. Not many of you would know this, but Pastor Mpyisi and our late mother hold Kenyan citizenship. And the citizenship was given personally by President Moi. So you wonder, how did Pastor Mpyisi meet President Moi? It's a long story, but I'm going to make it very short. Pastor Mpyisi was preaching at a funeral service of one of at that time he was the Chief Justice, but he was a Seventh-day Adventist. And Pastor Mpyisi is the one who conducted the service. It happened that President Moi attended that service. When the service was over, a few months later, the president called some of the Kenyan ministers who attended also that service and asked them, that preacher who preached at the funeral of Chief Justice Nyarangi, who is he? They told him, oh, that is Pastor Mpyisi, is the pastor of, at that time it was Maxwell Church. They told him, oh, he's a Rwandese refugee. The president said, okay, it doesn't matter whether he's a refugee or whatever. Tell him to come here. Please get him here. So they came and got Pastor Mpyisi. They said, the president wants you. So the president, why would the president want me? He doesn't even know me. He said, he has sent us to get you. So Pastor Mpyisi said, okay, fine, let's go. When they got there to State House, President Moi welcomed him, greeted him. He says, I first saw you when you were preaching at Justice Nyarangi's church service. I was impressed by your preaching. As you know, this is election year. In fact, there were few more months for elections to take place. And elections were very hot. That was the first time when there were open politics now, and there were several political parties. And he says, I am not very sure whether I am going to win, so I want you to please pray for me. So Pastor Mpyisi says, well, that's what I do. He told the president, let's kneel down. And they knelt down, and Pastor Mpyisi prayed. Now, it just happens, to cut the long story short, that year, President Moi won the elections. You know, politicians are not politicians for no reason. About 6 months later, he remembered, oh, there's this pastor who prayed for me, and I won the elections. I should thank him. He again told people, bring me that pastor. So when he got there, See, the pastor cares very much about what is going on here. So President Mo says, Pastor Mpyisi, I want to thank you. As you can see, I won the elections. But I was told that you are a refugee in this country. So Pastor Mpyisi, yes, I'm a refugee. But you see, to a man of God, being a refugee or not doesn't matter very much. So the president said, from now onwards, do you mind? I want to give you Kenyan citizenship. So Pastor Mpyisi says, well, as long as it doesn't take away my Rwandese citizenship, I've got no problem. So the president took the phone and called the chief immigration officer and told him, Mr. Kwinga, I remember his name very well, Mr. Kwinga, there is a pastor here, he's been a refugee here for all these years. From now on, him and his wife are Kenyan citizens. So that is Pastor Mpyisi. Most of you, Mubara is here, Peter. I'm sure if I ask him to stand up here and he tells us the role Pastor Mpyisi played in the establishment of Inilak, you probably speak for the whole day. Pastor Mpyisi was probably, he was a very key person in ensuring that Inilak University gets registered and approved by the Ministry of Education. That is a very important role. I would want to mention also that Pastor Mpyisi played. Now, another very important milestone. In Kenya, if you have been to Kenya and you attended church, you would be sitting in probably the most beautiful church, SDA church in this region, the Nairobi Central Church. Most of you don't know that. The idea, the concept to build that church was Pastor Mpyisi's idea. At that time, Pastor Mpyisi was the pastor of Maxwell Church, which is today's Nairobi Central Church. It was a very small church. Sometimes they had to hold 2 services in a day in order to accommodate all the people. It is Pastor Mpyisi's idea to build a bigger, more beautiful church. I remember I was there during the first fundraiser that Pastor Mpyisi conducted to start building that church. Now, people in Kenya pray in the most beautiful church. Some of them don't even know where the idea to build that church came from. Pastor Mpyisi. Unfortunately, Pastor Mugeni and my sister, that is his wife, Eunice, are not here. But for a long time, Pastor Mugeni and Eunice worked at the Arusha Seventh-day Adventist University. It is a university now, but it started as a seminary. And that seminary was started by Pastor Ezra Mpyisi. Today, it is a university. I'm just trying to say a few of the achievements of Pastor Mpyisi. He has to hear this on his 100th birthday. Early in life, I think Pastor Mpyisi was about 35. Most of you would know that he was a counselor, an advisor to King Rudahigwa. But he was there courtesy of his representation of the Seventh-day Adventist Church within the King's Council. The King's Council was the equivalent today maybe of the Senate. And Pastor Mpyisi was a member. So one day the king called him and said, Pastor Mpyisi, you're among the very, very few young people who tell me the truth. I want to have you very close to me. I would want you to work with me full time. You'll be surprised at the answer that Pastor Mpyisi gave the king. He told the king, my king, it would be a huge honor to work for you. But unfortunately, I work for a king greater than you. You know, that is the equivalent today. Imagine if Pastor Seth, if the president called you and said, Pastor Seth, I like you. I've seen your intelligence. I want to appoint you a minister. And the pastor said, excuse me, Mr. President, I'm sorry, I can't accept. I am a church pastor. Now, maybe you might do it. But I can assure you very few people would turn down an offer from the president. But Pastor Mpyisi turned down an offer of a king. A king is different from a president. A president is elected. A king is not elected. He's elected by the whole country. So it is a bigger responsibility to say no to the king than to say no to a president. And he was 35 years old at that time. Certainly, if it were me, I wouldn't have done that. Of course, just like all parents, all good parents, Pastor Mpyisi he still is a disciplinarian. Whether in matters of the faith, thank you. Whether it is matters of the faith or it is just at home. And some of us, very often, were victims of his belt. There is one incident, I'm sure he doesn't even remember. It was a Friday afternoon, and my elder brother and I had gone to play soccer. We were still teenagers at that time. This was in Zimbabwe. And we came after sunset on Friday. Now, to Pastor Mpyisi and in his family, Sabbath is a huge thing. No one fools around with Sabbath. And we came from playing soccer after sunset. Well, his belt came out. And I can assure you we had it. I've been wondering all these years whether it wasn't a sin to beat us. Because he beat us on a Sabbath. Pastor Mpyisi's home was open to everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. In Kenya, that's where I remember very much. I used to visit them, let's say at lunchtime, and I would find my mother, cooking rice in a huge sufuria. And I would say, Mama, why are you cooking so much food? And she always tell me, just hang around, you'll see. And indeed, come time to eat, the house would be full. Even people they don't know. And that big sufuria, they will be cooking more. You go there in the evening. Pastor Mpyisi's house, there were no things like bedrooms, maybe except theirs. But all the rooms were just full of mattresses because there were people. People would come from Congo, from Burundi, from Rwanda. And from where they're coming from, they would tell them, if you get to Nairobi and you don't know where to stay, you don't have money for food, just look for someone called Pastor Mpyisi. Your food problem, your accommodation will be sorted out. And I would meet people that say, who are you? I know you don't know me, I'm from Congo. Do you know Pastor Mpyisi? No, someone referred him to me. And you? I'm from Burundi. How do you know Pastor Mpyisi? Someone referred him to me. And these people have been there for a week, some even for a month. There are guys who used to come, young guys who used to come from Rwanda and going to study in India. From Rwanda. And they would get to Nairobi, they go to Pastor Mpyisi's home, eventually they proceed to India. Their passports will expire, they will not send them to the embassy in Nairobi, they would send them to Pastor Mpyisi. And Pastor Mpyisi would take them to the embassy, renew them, and send them. These are people Pastor Mpyisi didn't really know. Eventually, the ambassador knew about it, so he came to Pastor Mpyisi and said, Pastor Mpyisi, seems your home has become the embassy. And the ambassador told Pastor Mpyisi, because of that, we want to give you Rwandese passport. And Pastor Mpyisi says, all right, I don't mind, but will you give the passports to the whole family? Of course, the ambassador couldn't, because at that time in Nairobi, we had started the RPF movement, and the ambassador knew that. So at least for me, he would not give me that passport. So Pastor Mpyisi told him, well, if you can't give my whole family the passport, then keep your passport. I'm a Rwandese, I'll go and get my own passport. I think I'll just stop there for the points that I had put down. As you can see, most of the points were really as from a family member. What does the name Pastor Mpyisi mean to us? The second thing was I wanted to highlight some of the achievements of Pastor Mpyisi, some of the honors that Pastor Mpyisi has had, things that have made us feel proud as a family. Pastor Mpyisi, this is now direct to you. Many good things can be said about you, and this function, organized by your church, the Kigali English Church, is a testimony and recognition of your goodness, your steadfastness in God, your spirituality, your contribution as a good pastor, teacher, and counselor to a multitude of people. As it is written in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7 to 8, you have fought a good fight, you have finished the course, and you have kept the faith. And we have no doubt that there is laid up for you a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give you when the day comes. May the Lord continue to bless you and give you more healthy years. Thank you. I have to come back. Pastor Mugeni, Eunice Mugeni, please come here. Dina, you too. This one I have to hold. The only daughter of Pastor Mpyisi. Eunice Mpyisi. Nina Mugeni, her daughter. Oh, I've just been reminded. Dr. Mpyisi, Dr. Nina. You see what I was telling you? Only girls are doctors. Not a single man. Shame on you. And Pastor Mugeni, our in-law, the husband of Eunice. Pastor Mugeni was a teacher at Bugema, where I also went to secondary school. Pastor Mugeni taught me, and he taught his wife. They have come all the way from Tanzania to celebrate Pastor Mpyisi's 100th birthday. Thank you.